On the bottom right. This is how I usually do it. Yeah.
Floating meeting control.
So, hello, Bite Bandits. We welcome to the 24-hour preliminary round of CoMIS 2023. My name is Adam. Today's presentation will be judged by our panel of judges here. You'll have 25 minutes in total, 15 minutes of protected presentation time, and 10 minutes of Q&A. During your protected presentation time, judges are not permitted to interject or ask any questions. If you finish your presentation before 15 minutes end, you will still only have that 10 minutes for your Q&A. There will be a hard cutoff at 15 minutes, and we'll be giving you a time warning at 3 minutes, 1 minute, and 30 seconds over here. All right, I'll give you the thumbs up. May begin.
Hi, we are presenting on the Life Floor, an innovative non-slip tile that's going to increase the safety of pool areas. We are going to be exploring new technologies that will streamline the processes for future projects. Let's meet the Bite Bandits. I'm Emma Sosa. I'm Laura Kiley.
And I'm Aaron Lloyd.
On today's agenda, we are going to be reviewing a client for a future project prospect. Then we are going into what the current situation is that is preventing this project request. This is going to lead to our solution to this problem. And in our solution, we will have a budget, timeline, benefits, key performance indicators of these benefits. And lastly, we're going to circle back to our client to see how they like our response. Now, for the purpose of this presentation, I'm actually not part of the Bite Bandits, but I'm the manager of the Sunnyvale Community Pool. At the Sunnyvale Community Pool, having our design is very important. And at our Sunnyvale Community Pool, it's stable in the summer months. But due to the concrete flooring, it is very slippery and hazardous to our residents. And this is a problem not only affected by the Sunnyvale community, but cities all over the United States. In fact, the CDC reports 155,000 injuries occur in or around a summer pool. So because of this, I sought out a solution, and is when I found the wonderful company of Life Floor Solutions. I liked Life Floor not only for the safety benefits they provide, but as well as the custom design they have. So our Sunnyvale community, one thing I really enjoy is that we want a community that has culture and value in our pool here. And so we went out here and yeah, we will present on the pool. So moving on to Aaron.
Thank you so much, Emma. I think we can fully satisfy your needs for the Sunnyvale pool. Life Floor is an amazing company and it has been growing in recent years, but this growth has not come without growing pains. And recently, Life Floor has encouraged and noticed some process inefficiencies having to do with communication internally and having to do with some process inefficiencies in counting materials. The first one has to do with the sales team. The sales team itself is dealing with difficulties in trying to establish the soft quote that often clients are needed when they're asking for the project, how much the project will cost. When they want this, the sales team often doesn't feel confident in the data that they have. And so they need a better process in place in order to get the data they need and feel confident in their recommendation of a soft quote. Additionally, the design team needs to manually count the tiles by hand at the bottom of the pools for how much materials they'll need. This process is very inefficient and can be very error-driven. So to address this, we've come up with two solutions. The first is to utilize Microsoft Business Office Suite, and the second is to utilize Nest Fab to eliminate the manual entry. We'll go into more detail in the next slide. Let's start with Microsoft. The Microsoft suite of products, including Teams, SharePoint, and the Microsoft Office suite, including Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, will help Life Floor have a better organization of their files in comparison to Slack. We recommend that you completely replace Slack because Teams is better, more efficient, and cheaper than the Slack Pro. We're hoping that in Microsoft Teams that you'll be able to better organize files, provide better security. In Microsoft Teams, the files that are created within folders inherit the security settings that those folders have. Additionally, the SharePoint for Excel and AutoCAD files is critical in Teams, as Teams better integrates with these files. In your NetSuite application, you can download analysis and reports directly as an Excel file, and you can set it up to automatically download within certain intervals. Teams can automatically receive this download and update these Excel sheets based on the new information, which provides our sales team with more accurate and up-to-date information about costing and how projects are going. Finally, Microsoft Office and the Office suite provides training and app updates that Slack just does not have. And it's for these reasons that we recommend that you use Teams instead of Slack. Secondly, we're going to recommend NestFab. NestFab is a program that's intended for sheet metal and other materials that need to be cut out by a laser. It's different than other tile-based softwares because it's used to accommodating pieces that don't fit cleanly within a grid. These include triangles, curves, circles, whatever you may be, NestFab can handle it. Also, NestFab can handle CAD files directly and automatically cuts out and sizes out pieces and how they need to be constructed on the material sheet to best utilize the space. NestFab will eliminate and decrease your material wastage by optimally placing non-square pieces so that they fit on the sheet. And lastly, what we like most about NestFab is that it outputs directly into your NetSuite software. It'll integrate directly and you'll get that costing information in less than 5 minutes. Whereas before you told us that it took between 5 minutes and 2 hours to complete this process.
So for the cost of implementation, our estimates are based on the fact that LifeFloor is a company of only 20 employees. So for Microsoft 365, we're going to use the tier 2 business basic software. So this is going to be a standard $6 per user per month times those 20 users times 12 months, which equals a year. And that's going to be a total of $1,440. Now we're going to add on that NestFab license, which is a one-time cost of $2,250. And for the application training and implementation, we are going to use an estimated hourly wage of $30.42 based on prior data for companies with only 20 employees. And that cost range is going to be $5,000 to $8,000. And for the implementation and training, we're going to have all 20 employees train under Microsoft. And then we're going to have the 3 design users train under NestFab, which NestFab does have tutorials on their system. And then we want to designate 2 shared service employees to go ahead and migrate all of the prior data files into the new SharePoint. So that's going to equal a total cost of around $9,000 to $12,000. So for a timeline, we have just a summary right here, but we do have a Gantt chart inside of our appendix. For the pre-planning phase, we want to ensure that LifeFloor is backing up all data and all their files because we want to mitigate the risk of losing any data and files. For the implementation, we want to purchase that Microsoft 365 basic business software and that NestFab software. And then we're also going to implement this training for those 20, 3, and 2 groups. For the implementation evaluation, we're really going to test that system validity and get right in there. So the benefits of this implementation. So LifeForce will see an instant benefit with that NestFab in that reduction in data entry errors. That's going to be 80 to 90%. Those data entry errors were accounted for $10,000 to $20,000 of total costs. There's also going to be a decrease in material waste by 10% because NestFab does have a 0 gap feature inside their system. And then that design team is going to really appreciate it just because it's, instead of taking 2 hours, we're boosting it to under 5 minutes that we're going to take to cut those tiles. And then for the material and labor quote phase for custom design, that's going to decrease by 75%. So the key performance indicator, we really want to see how we're doing or how LifeFloor is doing with those performance indicators. We're going to have a customer satisfaction survey, which really just
digs deep and sees how that new timeline is benefiting those customers. We're gonna see how the Nest Fab is going to benefit those designers with the accuracy of the tile count versus the installer count. And then for those employees, we're going to see a 360-degree feedback on that new internal communication system. So now that we've gone through all of our recommendations, we do want to tie it back to our client from Sunnyvale. So it looks like Emma is really excited to get her new slabs of the Ripple 2.0 and decrease those slip risks and mend the minds of those worried parents. So how do we do, Emma?
Yeah, LifeLore went beyond my expectations. The community of Sunnyvale absolutely loves their new pool deck design. And as pool manager, it's absolutely reassuring that the new flooring is suitable and safe for all of our residents. So we would like to thank LifeLore for the amazing experience and the quick project timeline that you provided us. And we would like to thank your judges for your time and attention during our presentation. We will now open the floor for any questions.
You showed a 3 or 4 step.
Oh, hold on, sorry.
Sorry, yeah, read it.
You just have 10 minutes to ask questions. You guys know that. Give me 1 second.
Not
All
that
right,
we're anxious
go ahead.
or anything.
Go ahead.
You showed a 3 or 4 step timeline. Can you tell me what the time duration is for those?
Sure. Yeah, so we anticipated this implementing starting in June. We noticed that when you talked about it in the case, you said we want to be busy come June. And so we anticipated this being sort of a slow season, and we wanted this to take place in roughly the summer months. So we have a tentative end date of September 4th, which is Labor Day. And so we anticipate being able to complete this entire project from presenting the plan to the board, securing funding, training and processing, and then all the way verifying and ending right around that September 4th date.
Do you anticipate any IT consulting or IT expertise to assist with implementation?
So for the Nest Fast, we do have a couple of we're expecting that we could bring in some Nest Fab people, and we could get training on it and see if there's any questions or anything like that. But they do have 6 videos underneath their system and approximately 3 user manuals to kind of just tie in and see and consult these people, the employees.
And part of my question was with the implementation timeline you just showed, is that going to be work on top of the existing staff, or will there be additional staff be brought in to help with that? Because they're very busy today.
So we don't expect to do any existing staff on it. So for the implementation, that's why we wanted to use employees that we already have. So kind of just getting a plan to present to the board by mid-June. And then we're gonna do training for those 3 design individuals. And that's why we also wanted to do for the implementation and integration and transfer of all files to SharePoint. We wanted to take 2 shared services employees just to work on that.
Haven't been part of a SharePoint implementation. It's not just transferring files. So how are you going to build that type of thing in there? Because that takes a lot of time.
So Microsoft does have a mitigation app where you can directly download all your files into it, and it will transfer into SharePoint. So it'll kind of just be a rough kind of pass over, or a smooth and easy pass over into SharePoint.
But how are you organizing it in SharePoint?
It comes in, there's like a 10-second process. So we'll do by files and by projects. So anything that needs to come from certain projects and certain datas, and then we'll do employees and access by those.
And if you put them in different file folders, you lose your search capabilities.
The search
Just so you know. I think your costs are misleading because licenses are annual, not just a one-time deal. So you'd be paying. How do you take care of that? Because it's a lot more than that, what you've shown here.
Sorry. So actually, the NestFab license itself is a one-time fee. The license itself it's not something that gets updated. You purchase it and then that's it. And then we accounted for only 1 year of costs and we only did 1 year of benefits as well. But I think if you extrapolated out the costs, yes, you're right that it would be more in terms of yearly costs. Like we didn't account for how long you'd be anticipating using Teams. But I think this is a fair estimate given what the data we have right now. And I think within 1 year, this is probably a pretty accurate costing of what you would need in terms of rough dollar amounts. And we don't know exactly all of the business that goes on within LifeFloor. So it was a little bit difficult to make this estimate, but I feel like this is the best estimate that we put forward and I'm confident in our data.
So will Adobe Illustrator still be used in the process?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Adobe Illustrator would possibly add more time to the design process, as well as AutoCAD can do the full feature. And so when it goes into the formulation of getting the actual tile counts, Illustrator doesn't account for that. So it is up to our design team's discretion. So if they would like to move to Illustrator just to get their lines out and things like that, once they are complete in Illustrator, they'll put it back into AutoCAD so that AutoCAD can get the tile hatches and get the exact amount of cuts so that it can be implemented in NestFab for the specific cuts.
Is NestFab integrated by is there any integration point with NestFab?
Yes, there is actually a very well integration with NestFab. It integrates with all AutoCAD files. We were actually looking at a couple nesting softwares when we were doing the research, and we actually found that NestFab was the highest rating of the integration, and that's why we chose this one for our presentation today.
You're mentioning moving to Teams. All of our project discussions, rich discussions are in Slack. What's the plan to migrate all of those conversations?
Yeah, so I love Slack. I've used it before in my work in my office. It's not great for like discussions and communicating back and forth. It's great for doing that. But in terms of archiving and finding things, I don't want to have to look through multiple Slack channels to find the file that I want. So our plan to move those over would be to screenshot the different important Slack conversations, maybe archive the chats as necessary, and then have a document in Teams or have a file in Teams to catch employees up to speed or have an archive list there.
How do you deal with the little parts and the design? You have pieces on manufacturing and you need pieces, let's call it near the pool, right? How do you deal with that? Is there any inventory update, or how do you deal with or do we keep the manual count for a while?
Yes, for some more clarification of your question, are you referring to NestFab and the material pieces of it? Yes, so NestFab actually has a technology to keep the inventory costs. So as a tile is used and they use circle, any extra fabric is actually going to be accounted for in their inventory system. So you can actually use that across multiple future projects, even if that tile is, 4, 5, 6 months old, they will actually account for that inventory and use every single last bit of it. So it's very efficient and very sustainable as well. And it actually, on the appendix, there is a diagram of it that I find fascinating. Yes, I believe it's under material waste. Actually, no, I'm sorry, this one right here. So this looks all complicated, but if you look into the lines here, so these are all the complicated shapes that NestFab can produce for this company. And because manual cost counting has taken up so much time, we believe that this is a really great solution for the company.
Will NetSuite still be used in your recommendation?
Yes, all of our recommendations actually are designed to integrate well with NetSuite. So the Microsoft Teams itself is designed to hold the Excel files that come from the reports that are generated in NetSuite, and NestFab itself has the capability to integrate with NetSuite directly. So any of the costs from the projects can be automatically updated into NetSuite itself.
All done, judges?
One more, the company has a high ambition, right? Go from 5 to 7 to, well, we can figure out the line. How do you scale this solution? Because it's Microsoft, right? YouTube, Microsoft, I'm doing it again. No, okay, 1 minute. So how do you scale the solution? Because it's Microsoft, right? It's open. It has some advantages, but also some disadvantages. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so thank you for that question. I think the benefits of packaged software and Microsoft that they provide is that they provide all the support, all the software updates. The only things that we're going to have to deal with is costs when it comes to scalability. But the nice things about Teams as well is that it's going to inherit those security permissions pretty well. And as the company grows, we'll be creating more teams. And something we also want to focus on is continuously improving the file saving and that type of selection. So that's something the company will have to mitigate for. But we believe as we get more experience with it, that will improve our scalability as we go.
Okay, that's time. Okay, thank you for your presentation. Judges will give their feedback in this room at 10:30. Please return here at 10:30. If you would like to receive feedback for your presentations. At this point, you may exit the room with your liaison. If you want to come grab their flash drive. As a reminder, you are not permitted to watch any other preliminary round presentations. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.